Yes, sir. We are live and in the building. Let me go live on the gram too. For those of y'all that are into that, still waiting on Anwar HighSign. He'll be here in a minute. In the meantime, I'm gonna be the guy that's trying to figure out Instagram in real time. Thanks for joining today. We are gathered here to talk about um, King's Ransom, which is the new song that Anwar HighSign and myself have done and is streaming live everywhere. Let me take this ridiculous green screen drawing down because it's not working. Um, in the meantime, until he gets here, I'm down to take whatever questions y'all might have. And I'm going to just fix this thing real quick. I am back in the building. It's going to be real odd talking to myself for a minute, but we here. Oh, that didn't work. Checking connection. Yeah. So if you haven't heard the record, it's streaming everywhere right now. King's Ransom. Like I said, features the honorable Anwar HighSign. And on that record, it was the first record that we did for my EP, iconic EP. Is produced by a gentleman named Trox. And we just rocking out on that record, like just barring up. The way it started, well, I'm gonna save that story for when Anwar gets here. But for me, it's a really, I don't know, I just really enjoy it because it was like the first record back to some degree where I'm just kind of like figuring out what my style is now and everything. And when you haven't rapped for a long time and you like go to a very different place in life, you gotta like figure out like how do you actually rap, right? And so that record for me was like figuring out what my new style is to some degree. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with that record. And where is Anwar? um, yeah, like I said, in the meantime, if y'all got questions, feel free to drop them, and I will answer them about the record, about anything really. But yeah, just gonna wait for him to get here and just give you a little bit about the plans moving forward, like what to expect. So we're dropping the records like leading up to the bigger release of the full EP on streaming platforms is going to be on April 8th. And, we're going to drop the next single, for lack of a better term, which is The Promise, the first record on the EP that's going to come out. I believe it's scheduled for next week. We got a video for King's Ransom coming real soon. And that's how it's just going to keep rolling out. It's going to be song, video, more content like this. And, I'm just going to keep it moving. After that, we're doing Build. After that, I believe we're doing Made It. Made It being the record that features Music Soul Child. Those of y'all that heard the earlier version of the EP, there was no one on that song, and now it's got Music Soul Child. I'm super excited about that. Um, for my marketing people, there's going to be a big campaign around all of that. We're going to see how far we can take that record. And then from there, I think the next one is Miss Me. And then we're going to do Time Out. And I think we're going to do an animated video for, what's it called? For Balancing Act. And that's pretty much the end of the record right there. And then I'm looking to have like a fast follow for the next 3-pack right after that. So, just trying to keep it moving, trying to drop something at least every quarter. We've been in the studio a lot. I had I was working with my man Gauze. He's the engineer who did all the records for Iconic. He did all the mixing, the mastering, recording. Sat with me for hours listening to the same beats over and over as I just kind of like rediscovered what my rhyme style is and everything. And you know, we were working on a couple records. Some of the videos we dropped in the last couple of days, Chief Kamachi was in them because he was in the studio with us, so he jumped on the track and everything. So yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to keep things moving, keep doing more records, and don't stop till I get enough. Shout out to Michael Jackson for his contribution. And I'm sitting here, rambling because Anwar's not here. But yeah, taking any questions, taking anything y'all want to talk about in the meantime. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention on the Timeout track that's gonna roll out. Little Fame is on that. Little Fame from MOP. He blessed me with basically like I did the hook and we were in the studio, and I mean Fame wasn't there. Me and Gauze was in the studio and we was like, yo, who should do this hook? And he was like, yeah, I hear Little Fame on this. So we made that happen. Shout out to M80. Shout out to Jay Ronan. The two of them helped me connect with Fame and make that happen. Shout out to Little Fame. Super cool dude. We spent a few hours in the studio, him and his wife at Ronan's spot. And, we just kicked it. He played a bunch of really, really dope records for me that I don't know if they've dropped yet, but Fame has a bunch of bangers. Just a bunch of bangers that he's sitting on. Don't know what happened to my. I don't know. Things are just getting weird on the computer. So, what else can I tell you about? Anwar HighSign has his own record that he dropped recently. Um, Live Nigga Prophecy. Record's pretty dope. I was there for the mixing and all of that record. We were up until 5 a.m. because he wanted to get it out on his birthday too. So that was dope. Oh, there he is.
Heard? Am I heard? Am I?
Yeah, you on? You live?
Should I switch to my mic?
Nah, we hear you just fine. I just been in here babbling until you got here. Why don't you
Just like the old days?
Yeah. Why don't you jump on the gram too so that we can get all the people in there? Just like join me on my live.
Life's a bitch pulling panties to the side now. Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Honorable Anwar HighSign who's joined us this evening.
Yo, I've joined you this evening. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that you're
here. Yeah.
All right. Here's our live. We shall request.
And turn your volume down too on your phone. Boom, sent the request. Boom. Now we live in all the places. Everybody watching at home. Sent the request. Boom. Yeah,
They turned it back up when it requested. It was just like, yeah, you want to hear everything. Like, come on.
Word. All right, so let's talk about this record. Let's like kind of start from the top.
Hold on. Because my phone is deciding it doesn't want to be muted. Hold on.
Word.
How's that work? How does it just decide to defy me? Is this how it starts? Is this how the machines rise? Is this what happens?
I don't know, but I think my phone just turned off on me. That was weird. Am I still on here? Yeah, it just kicked me off live.
idling. I don't know, cause I'm trying to mute my joint. It's like, yo, fam, if you're not gonna do it our way, then forget it. You're
All
not
right,
gonna
I'm live again. Let me be great.
let me be great. All right, I'm going to hop back in the live, and as soon as it allows me to request, boop, bing.
Bong.
I swear, if this thing, when you accept it, if it's like, yo, full volume, it's
It's like you
problem.
live. You need to hear it.
We live. We all the way live.
Word.
All right. It did it
It's,
again. That's fine. I got it. I figured.
Instagram. You on Instagram live, nigga prophecy. All right, boom. So say it's from the top. How do we make this record happen? Like how did King's Ransom come about?
All right. So, and that's what I'm gonna do real quick. So King's Ransom, yo. Pardon me, people, for not looking at the screen right this second. I'm like figuring technology out in times of trouble. So King's Ransom, right? You decide that you want to make a record after 27 years away. Like you're like, yo, fam, I started a business. I became a family man. I used to be Hawkeye, but that's not me anymore. And I was like, all right. So, yeah. So I don't know why it won't turn down all the way on my IG.
It doesn't matter as long as there's no feedback.
So right.
Oh, there it is.
What if no? Because then this is too late. I'm like I'm like baffled at the decisions they made to not allow me to mute my phone while using live. So all right, so we're working on this record right all week. Like we're doing work hours on this new Mike King record that no one knows is coming. I don't know that anyone knew it was in existence at the time, but you know, you were like, yo, I'm coming to Philly. I'm gonna book the spot, slide through, and I'm like, slide through. I'm gonna live there with you. What do you mean? Like we going all in. Like I'm gonna go.
Hold on. Let me back it up because I had this vision of like just doing straight rapper shit. Instagram Live is not letting me rock, so I don't give a shit about it. So I had this vision of doing just like all the way rapper shit, like booking the studio, like you said, work hours, having a crib, coming down the fly whip, like the whole thing. And that's what we did.
By the way, yo, like I just noticed I didn't get a chance to like put on a background or anything. So like, yo, this is what it's like. It's not always glamorous. It's like it goes down right there.
Word.
And put it on tape. It becomes classic type shit.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
continue.
So you know, what I mean, we did that, right? Like I rented the Airbnb and all that, and was like, yeah, we just gonna do work hours. Like, and I took the week off from work. And it was like, cool, we're gonna be in there from 10 to 6 every day. And you know, we got in there and I just had like a queue, like a backlog of songs that I'd written or, you know, never did like final recordings of and whatever. And I felt like that'd be a good way to get back into the practice of just like, you know, recording. And we laid a bunch of tracks and, you know, like I was like, okay, I have this record, you know, I have beats from a whole bunch of people like RJD2 and you know, a ton of people. And I was just knocking those joints out like, you know, left and right. But the tracks that really resonated with me, or the first one that we did that ended up being the EP was this one. And I remember you and I were just talking, like that's what we did. We talked about rap, we made rap, you know, we went and ate food. You know, we like rode around listening to the rap that we made, and
jokes.
Yeah, just like you know, catching up like we used to always do. And I remember telling you at one point, I was like, "Yo, the record I love the most right now is the Lemon Pepper Freestyle," and we were like, "Cool, yeah, we should do something."
I then tried to like make an analog of
Right.
through my lens, but like we're working fast, and it's like when you're working fast like that,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have this time frame to get what you need to get out,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have the luxury all the time of like figuring the record out. Like sometimes you just have to be like, okay, well, if it didn't like pop off right this second, like let's just pick a different thing where it sparks our fun. So
Mm-hmm.
that I think that kind of happened too.
Yeah, and because like the line I start with, like no sympathy for the king, right? I thought I was gonna be talking about, like some emotional shit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But you came in barred up. I was like, oh wait, no, this is that. Like that's where we're
Well,
going with this.
you tried to go you tried to go emotional on a record that was like, yo, beat it up, like work the middle. And then you tried to be like, yo, so what are we? And I was like, nah, fam.
Word. And like that was just the angle that I originally was gonna start from. And I like that as like an opening phrase. And then I was just like, nah,
I
this
actually really
is
like that opening line a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I like that. And I was just like, nah, we barring up today. Like that's what we doing. And so you wrote like a 16 at first, and then I took forever to write.
Might have been a 20.
Yeah, like a 20.
I'd
And
be
then
like a little weird. Like I don't always like to do 16s because like it's a 16.
yeah. And
But like
then
somehow just throwing like the extra form, like, yeah, it's a 20 now. Yeah. It's a 20.
yeah.
It's a
And
twin.
then from there, I took forever to write. So you wrote like another what, like 12 or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was another 12.
And
I might have been aiming for 24.
mhm,
So for those that don't know, the 41st side, Lemon Pepper Freestyle is like has a strange structure. It's like Rick
mhm,
Ross doesn't rap that long,
right.
and Drake raps forever.
Forever. He's still rapping right now.
He's currently rapping. He's
Yeah.
still rapping. He's working on it in between the new out songs he's working on. He's still so we like, all right. So when I had the 24, whatever, like we were just kind of I was just kind of like sitting there, like, all right, still charged off of the spot writing, which I
Mhm.
don't get to do a lot of. So it's exciting when I get the spot right, and like it's exciting when I get to make music with my friends
Yeah.
because my music existence is very solitary, and I hate
Mhm.
that. I'm so burned out on making music in complete solitary.
Yeah, that feedback loop is everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Man,
like is so this record, like the entirety of the EP was really the output of a feedback loop between me, you, Gauze, and Trox. And Trox to a
yeah.
lesser extent because he wasn't there, but he was just like feeding us beats. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
he was on it,
yeah, and
and he
so
was like tapped in at the right moment. Like what we did over him, he was like, "Yo,
yep.
let's go. Here's some more." Coincidentally, here's
So
50 more
let
beats.
let me break this down a little bit though, because we were talking about this when we did Trax and I did this like hip hop game show a couple weeks ago, and the first beat I got from him, I bought that from him in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, like almost 10 years ago.
I low key really love stuff like that because it's real world proof that it's about the timelessness of the music. It's not about like when
Yeah,
it was made. It's
right.
about does it fit the situation?
Right. So there's one beat that I bought, the first beat I bought for him. Ultimately, that record didn't make the album. And then the second beat that I bought from him is the intro to the record, so it's called "The Promise." Um, but you know, to continue this story, basically, this record, King's Ransom, was like the first one that really, was like the first new record that I made for. And then I realized, like, I sent him the track, and he was like, "Yo, y'all are gassing up on this one, right?" Like, it was the proof that I'm actually finally doing something with his record. And then that's when it kind of opened the floodgates. He's like, "Oh, nah, you
But did
you
it feel
barred
like
up."
when you did the verse, did it feel like, it's like we've been feeling like we gassing for a long time, but we all have certain levels that we're trying to exercise and write our way into and like sword fight our way into. So like, was that an instance where you were like, yo, the thing I've been trying to tap into, like I caught it?
Well, what I was saying before you got here is that that verse was me like actively discovering how I rap now. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously overlap stylistically between Icon the Mike King records and Mike King records, but like what I've been struggling with, in the background for the last like, I don't know, couple years, why I wasn't making more music is like, what do I even rap about? You know what I mean? Like I'm not actively struggling with the things I was struggling with before.
Right.
I can't be just doing like science fiction rap anymore. Like that doesn't necessarily
Science fiction.
resonate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, all right, well, how do I express who I am now with these bars?
Right.
And so that's part of why it took me so long to write that verse, because it's like, okay, like how do I say this now? Like there's
What is barring up at this juncture mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very much like I'm chiseling out a sculpture and not really sure what that sculpture is meant to look like. Whereas for the whole like Icon the Mike King era of my catalog, like I'm very clear on what that verse looks like. You know what I mean? Like I'm very
Yeah.
clear that it's like, you know, some like modern type cannabis type bars or whatever. And there's still some element to that, but it's just like a different type of hyperbole now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what I think would be dope, and if you're open to it, is just kind of like taking people through the bars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm with it.
um, yeah. Wait. Oh, I can just screen share the verse. I have how you
Hey.
wrote it out.
Yeah,
Um,
yo. It was interesting too, to add on to what you were saying, because I've had those same sort of struggles. Because I don't really think that rapping for the sake of rapping is particularly interesting anymore.
mhm.
Like there has to be something there that's like shaping the experience.
I agree
More
with
so
that.
than like, yo, like check it out. Here's 48 bars about how great I think I am.
That's
Right? Like
literally what I did.
I'm the greatest rapper, right? Every rapper is like, yo, I'm the greatest rapper, and I've never had any experience that didn't reinforce how great I was. And it's super boring, yo. Like to just hear a person with all the mechanics in the world tell you a very simple and ostensibly meaningless statement because you're great to you
Mhm.
and you're great to you and she's great to her and I'm great to me and we're all great, but really like just to ourselves, for real, for real. Unless like there's some reason for a person outside of yourself to be invested, and I'm just not invested anymore. So like barring a beat down looks different now because of how I want to approach that.
Yeah,
But
I came to a realization a few years ago when I was just not rapping and I was just like watching and observing rap. A lot of people can rap really good now. You know what I mean? Like a lot
yeah,
of people mechanically know how to do it. Whereas, years ago when I was doing it as like my primary thing in life, there were very few people that understood the technical mechanics of it and were able to be super creative and so on. And
yeah,
so, it's kind of got me to the point where I'm like, all right, well, if this is more ubiquitous, what is it that I can do that's still special? You know what I
right,
mean? And
yeah,
that's what I mean, like discovering that is what took me so long in writing this verse.
Right.
But
and that's how you open the can of worms up.
Yeah, because once you got it, it's like, oh, I can replicate that.
Yeah, like you know, it was like I'm when I go on IG or someplace like that, and somebody's rapping to their camera.
Mm-hmm.
As an MC, like I'm naturally interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I want to give it a chance, and then the person will be like, "Yo, something super super mid," because yo, I'm really the kid. I always been the kid. You know, you like, all right.
Yo, so take me through this verse.
So cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The king's back off the leash.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhat of a somewhat of like a double entendre, because I'm saying like, hey, like I'm speaking about you,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also speaking about myself. And I'm like, yo, I'm like we kind of saying like, yo, we back at it.
Mm-hmm.
Back off the leash. Never in your life was the gap hard to see. So that mechanical difference, it was not hard for you, the viewer, to see objectively that the gap between me and them is vast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've been out modding my comp. You're all obsolete. If you just joined the Zoom, so tying into, you know, out modding my comp, Zoom meeting. You just joined the Zoom. Welcome to the Tombs. It's about to get real stupid from here. Right? So Haas ain't concerned or consumed with your moves, which is self-explanatory. But of course, you know, rappers and like musicians at large are a lot of times really egotistical people. I don't like count myself, or I don't count either of us outside of that scope.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we check that egotism is different, of course. So like I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, like I had to learn at a certain point to start separating myself, because it was impacting my mental health and my just general existence,
Mm-hmm.
to be inundated with everyone's thoughts all the time about whatever, for whatever reason. It's not that cool for me. So I'm not concerned to consume with your moves. I used to look around at you rock though as like, damn, he threw it though I can't see his hands. Right? Also kind of self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of people, especially in indie hip hop, they
Mm-hmm.
like to throw stones, hide their hands. Throw the stone, hide their hand.
Yep.
Right? Damn, he threw it though I can't see his hand. The shots ain't land, but the optic was cute.
Oops.
Oops. So now that's like, you know, again, a bit self-explanatory, but the oops is actually like a throwback to Big. The
Mm-hmm.
oops is inspired by Big. When he was like would say little shots during the whole like Pac thing and like the stuff with Faith. He had a line where he, you know, he had the oops in it when he dropped the little like, you know, entendre about Pac. So it was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
read into that how you will. Cock blower, you can't push us out. Well, why fight? It's nothing to box over. Right? I just thought that was like a slick way to say it and to like throw it back into the scheme, into the rhyme scheme from earlier without like.
Yeah, I like that because it was subtle and it's like a non-standard way to like flip a rhyme scheme.
Right. So here's my question. How do you got me so fucked up? Never mind, it's irrelevant. Now I was trying to like sort of like splash a quick cadence in it. How do you got me so fucked up on some like, you know, throw a little more syllables into it just to like break it up in a different way. Never mind. It's irrelevant. So I mean, I might have went a different direction. I don't remember off tops, but looking at it now, I might have went a different direction off of that, because like rhyming so fucked up when
Mhm.
we've been rhyming for so many years is annoying, because it's the kind of word lineup that like a lot of what you would attempt to rhyme with it would be super regular and not very
Right,
interesting.
right.
So never mind, it's irrelevant. Doors on the beamer hit the Humpty. To sit in the bitch, you do a belly twist. Right? 4 circuits. Now this week, Mike brought out the Audi i8,
BMW i8.
BMW i8. Pardon me. So he brings out the Beamer i8. This thing is gorgeous. It turns 90 degrees with a flick of the wrist. Right? It has these amazing butterfly doors. It's slick. It looks like the car that you wanted when you were a kid,
Mhm.
right? And so that was like the anecdote. That whole week we driving around in this car with these butterfly doors in a town that doesn't typically see those, right? And we,
Driving through North Philly with it.
yeah, like we drove through North Philly in this thing playing Hove. Like it was it was egregious. And so
Hey, I do this for my culture.
I do this for my culture, right? So like everything's about the i8 for me this week. I'm like, yo, so he pulls up to my crib in the i8 and he's like, yo, you gotta sit ass first in it. I'm like, all right, whatever, bro. I don't know what type timing you dealing with. Like what kind of I know how to get in the car, fam. But it's true, like the way that because of the doors, the way that the seat is recessed down into the
Mhm.
car, like you have to sit in it first and then swing your legs in.
Yeah,
So,
it's
and then if
different.
you remember, like Digital Underground, obviously the Humpty Dance, but the Humpty Dance is like this.
Mhm.
Oh, right. So I'm like, yo, the doors on the Beamer hit the Humpty, them bitches fly up. You sit in the car, you do a belly twist. You sit and then you twist your legs around. So it's like you're doing oblique workout. So then I tied it, the connective tissue, do a belly twist, core circuits. I'm doing,
Mhm.
I'm getting my ab workout sitting in this car, right? Core circuits and more sermons. I come from years of short purses, didn't have a lot of money, and stored
Mhm.
earnings. We had to save it to
Mhm.
make it through to do what we had to do. Court verdicts. This is product of your environment stuff.
Mhm.
North Philly. This is where we come from, North Philly. Court verdicts. Babies who born with curses. I'm born into poverty.
Mhm.
I have no choice in the matter whatsoever and limited power to affect it for a very long time at least. Right? So my entire existence is inferred by this environment.
Mhm.
So coming from that, and then you hopping in, you're driving through North Philly in $100,000 car. Like it's a trip. Even if it's even if it's temporary, even if you got the cigars for the look, you don't bite it, the look of the cigar is still a different moment for you.
Yeah.
Right. So babies who born with curses, seen them all like Snowfall season 4. This is your line right here. So me,
Yo, the thing is, when you wrote that, I had never seen Snowfall, so I'm just like, yo, that's probably a crazy deep bar right there.
right? So like I am big in the Snowfall.
Mhm.
And so like the whole like Saint character, I'm like identifying crazy with that. Like, yo, a dude who's not, like he lives in the hood, but he doesn't have hood aspirations, or he doesn't really carry himself. He doesn't allow himself to he doesn't define himself by the things around him. He creates his own identity and his own goals and missions, right? And so like that appeals to me. So I'm like, yeah, about to be Saint. Like I'm about to come through like Saint. I'm about to just take it over, but super on the low though, which is what I love about that character. So at the time, you know, it was the end of season 4. I was caught up. I seen it all. Saint seen it all by end of season 4. For anybody who watches that show, it was like super deep at that point, and he went from being, you know, a high school student who was selling some bud on the side to being like fully immersed in a game that had stakes and consequences and twists and turns that no reasonable person would ever be able to see coming. So he had seen it all. I've seen it all like Saint. I've seen it all like Snowfall season 4, right? Rob him to pay him. This is how they get down in this playing field that me and Mike are running through. Rob him to pay him. Same thing. Peter Paul. You're apples and you're splitting hairs. You're being semantic at this point. It's the same. It's the same shit, bro. Anybody mad at me is probably ugly.
It's my favorite line.
Now,
yo, if you're beautiful, like you probably wouldn't be mad at me. You just be like, cool, I'll go do something else.
Listen, baby. I'm single, baby. So here's the thing, right? This is how I stunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a lot of things that MCs are partial to and or don't like. We can all like in private name you a million things, a million artists, and we're like, yo, they're trash, that's corny, that song that everyone loves is whack. Like we all are like this behind closed doors, right? But like anybody mad at me is probably ugly. Felt like a really dope way to be, like, to have that conceited moment, to have that moment where you like, yo, I'm the shit, without being so obvious and flat. Like, yo, I'm the shit. Nah, you mad at me, you probably ugly, fam.
Yo, you know what I like about that line? It has the quality of like a good Prodigy bar, because Prodigy, he was never like a punchline dude, but he just made these raw statements that you're just like, yeah, you're right. Right.
I mean, I can't argue with that. I'm the same way. By the way, Prodigy is in my top 5, my personal top 5 all time, right? And I'm also not a big puncher. I got him here and there, but that's not really my style. I'm not really a punchline-y dude. So like it was a dope way for me to get something off, to like really get my shit off without you know, like having it be, while still having it be like, oh, I'm surprised by that line. I didn't expect you to say something like that. But it's still something that you can relay race it. You can take it and use it in your own life. You know, all right.
Yeah, we gotta make t-shirts with that bar on it.
Love slant. I love that. Right. So yeah. So anybody mad at you is probably ugly. I know the feeling. So you just a custy. Be happy you in luxury. Right. Now at this part I was like kind of finished because yeah, like that was a good place to stop. And I'm waiting, right? And you're writing, and I'm waiting. I still like got the beat is playing loud in the studio speakers. You know, like there's nothing really to do but wait for you to complete your part at this point in time. So I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm still inspired to keep going. And I'm like, you know what? I'll add a little bit more because it still won't step on Mike's toes. His verse is still going to be longer, but I can still add a little bit more. And I thought like, oh, this would be a good spot to like try and break it up and make something that's maybe a little like chanty or something that like maybe could be sticky to where it's not technically like, oh, look at, he's still going, look at the verse. It sort of like feels like a bridge of some sort.
It's kind of like in Mighty Healthy where he's like, what did he say? It just kind of breaks up the verse.
Shake that body, that part.
Well, that part is also that way, but there's another part in the middle. I can't remember what he says, but it sounds like it could have been the beginning of a hook, and it's not. And he like doubles that part, and then he doesn't double any other part of the song. It's kind of like the same
Oh
idea.
wow! Now I have to go back and listen to that. That he doesn't double any other part of the song. I'm such a nerd that like things like that interest me. That I'll literally go back just to be like, oh yeah, he doesn't double any other part. Wow. I love
Where he's
those.
like, when we hug these mics, we get busy.
Yeah. Come and have a good time with G-O-D.
Yeah, like that could have been a hook.
Sort of like that. Yeah, like
Mhm.
it was in that sort of vein. So like to have the I don't know why, but I was kind of thinking about like those old hand games that you used to play, like these joints,
Mhm.
you know, like numbers and whatnot, like
Mhm.
and like the stuff that you or like jumping rope. The girls would jump rope and have like these ill, like you know,
Mhm. That's where
what you call them?
one of my bars in this song is because of that too.
Oh yeah, yeah, you do, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where it was coming from. The
Mhm.
one potato, two hot potato, red top, blue top. So that's kind of bringing it into hood shit, North Philly, like drug crime, vaguely crime related, hood stuff.
Mhm.
Red top, blue top, black super saiyan. You ain't got a chance. I'm tapped in the matrix. So these are all, step back and take a look at the power. We're powering. Listen, the energy is gathering in the sky, right? But Ring Mike King, he can help pull your rank up. I thought that would be like a slick tie-in. The people who would be listening to you now, who would be joining you at this point in the journey and moving forward, they may be more business oriented, SEO oriented, digital
Mhm.
marketing oriented, and I thought that they might appreciate, and also because it was your song, I wanted to like throw something in that was, like an alley oop to you or
Mhm.
nod to you in some fashion. So you having a company, a digital marketing agency named I Pull Rank.
Mhm.
So you can't get
Got
an inch in the field with us, but yo, I got my man. He might be able to help you regardless.
it.
Give him
Nah,
a ring. Tell him I sent you.
I really appreciate that bar because it's exactly what you said, right? Like my audience now is a combination of, people that love business stuff and are kind of curious as to what I do. And
Right.
then there's also still like rap fans, but also new rap fans who are also like people that work in marketing. You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
it's a good allusion to all of that very succinctly in one bar.
You look into your story and you go like, oh, he has a company called I Pull Rank. Help pull your rank. Oh, yo, dope. I get it.
Mhm.
I'm with it. Let's go. We rocking. So to the bosses who don't own a thing but an IG account and a closet full of Jordans.
Not a lot of
So
those.
there's a lot of those. So, that just came from being inundated with sometimes we're using social media and effectively, and sometimes we're like caught up in the motions of social media, and I may have been caught up in the motions of social media at that time and weary of it, and I'm generally like not a big fan anyway,
Mhm.
but uh I probably was inundated with a lot of that. Like there's so many people on these platforms
Like LLC
giving,
Twitter,
huh?
LLC Twitter, like people talking about just start a business.
Let's start a business. Everybody's starting a business. They're posting all these videos with the stupid songs about the stupid jingles about why their prices are so high and all, like the thing about it though is there's usually not an each one teach one quality to it,
Mm-hmm.
or an empowering quality to it. There's usually this air of superiority, a bit of delusional grandeur, and there's also usually a sprinkling of chastising in there for some reason. So there's always a dude that there to tell you that something that you're doing and thinking is wrong, and some way that you're doing a thing will never work and it's stupid, because you need to think and feel like this. You need to grind this way. And this is the only way. And generational wealth. And my family, I mean, like I rise up and I gotta get it. And okay, cool, great, good for you, fam. You're not a real boss though. You're doing this for this platform, for a look. You're just trying to convince me of a thing. You're not providing anything of any particular value, whether it's material or something thought-provoking. So this is to them, to the bosses who don't own a thing but an IG account and a closet full of Jordans. You fake motherfucker, you. You are gossiping the whores and then reporting like informants. So not only are you on this platform creating a fake look that's not actually your life, when you could be spending just as much time building the bullshit that you're talking about so that it doesn't have to be a fake look. Okay. You're gossiping, you pillow talking. It's really about the women, for real. You're doing all these looks and histrionics really to impress women and impress strangers. Who is he to shit on? Who is he? Who is that person? The guy on IG with the closet full of Jordans pretending to be a boss. Who is he to shit on your life, the listener?
Mm-hmm.
His life is in the porcelain. So that line is me simultaneously talking to you, the listener, and him, the IG guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who is he to shit on? Your life's in the porcelain, which was like, some of those subtle mechanics we were talking about. Like instead of toilet, like let's do something flyer and a little like more subtly challenging that you can't predict as easily, if at all, right?
Right.
Oh, I get it. You think you're above me because I let you hear a couple of summaries of the drudgery. Now, this is going back to, my own rap history, and the music I've historically made has been typically very serious and transparent.
Mm-hmm.
I've revealed a lot about my mental health, my various struggles with the things that come with that, those feelings of hopelessness, that lack of confidence or lack of self-worth, and all of the struggles that are wrapped up in that, right? And I reached a point where I feel like it's been either weaponized against me at times or used as entertainment more so than being embraced as a vulnerable expression of myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously I would not appreciate. So you think you above me because I let you hear a couple of summaries of the drudgery. Got you. Copy that. In a couple of summers, I have you covered by the shrubbery. Because what I'm doing, what I have in mind, what we doing, we got something that the world been waiting to hear.
Because I know I've been waiting to hear it.
I know I've been waiting to hear it. So in a couple of summers, we gonna see all about that you above me shit.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking dweeb.
Yeah, that might be the hardest bar right there. Fucking dweeb.
You know what I mean? So let me wipe my. Trying to like. Figure out how to wipe my. There we go. All right.
I mean, like, to call somebody a dweeb, Like that's not a. I know you say it, but that's not a word I've heard since like the early '90s. You know what I mean?
And that's like kind of part of it, you know, like in finding our identities and shaping our identities, or regrouping and creating a new one, we are drawing all of, you know, on all of these fragments of things
Mhm.
to create some level of uniqueness for ourselves. So yeah, like sometimes you can't, sometimes you gotta forego the obvious choice. You know, you can be, yeah, fuck nigga, this, you can
Mhm.
say whatever you want. But like, will it hit as hard as if I launch off with "you fucking dweeb"?
Nah, because
Nah,
like I said, it's like
not.
it's not a term you hear every day, so it's so belittling. And then you gotta like think about it. Like, when was the last time I heard someone called a fucking dweeb? And it was probably like
With such
watching.
conviction.
Yeah, it was probably like you were watching like Ferris Bueller or something like that. You know what I mean?
Still a great movie. I saw it not too long ago.
Wonderful film. Um,
Yeah, you're a
yeah.
neo maxi zoom dweeby.
All right. So for me, again, like I said, I was trying to start more from like, okay, let's talk about feelings. Like, how am I feeling? Because I was really thinking like, all right, let me actually feel my success for a bit.
Mm,
Because when you're working through running a company, you're just so focused on like what's not going right, and
mm,
like you don't really focus on and really like enjoying where you're at in any given moment. Like when I'm on
mm,
vacation, I'm like, okay, I'm able to take a step away and be like, yo, look at all these things I've accomplished and things like that. But when you're in the day to day, it's all about the fires that are happening, right?
right.
And so I'm like, all right, no sympathy for the king, right? Because, most people, they'll be like, well, yeah, you chose this. Like, you chose to
Mm,
run a company like this. You chose to put all this responsibility on yourself. And so that's what I was thinking about at first. And then I'm thinking, like, okay, heavy is the crown, though, because it's like, again, it's a big burden that you're dealing with. And then I just kind of like think a bit more about it. I'm like, okay, became the man in the high castle on the down low. So that's just like kind of basic playing off the directional like down low
mm,
high castle. But at the same time, Man in a High Castle is this book by Philip K. Dick,
mm,
also a TV show, wonderful TV show, built on this concept of like, what if the Nazis won World War II? And so what
right.
the world would be like and stuff like that. But the whole concept that I'm kind of like really flip here is I did the unexpected
Mm,
on the down low. Like no one knew that I was gonna be
right.
this level of success. And like I
No
disappeared and
one
I
knew
came
you
back.
even had been cultivating these skill sets at all.
Yeah, exactly.
This line
Exactly.
is dope too because it struck me. No sympathy for the king, right? Strikes me as also being a statement about how easily people forget. You know, like you spend so much time, like we were spending a lot of our lives trying to make an impact musically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you walk away for this short amount of time, or even a long amount of time, but usually it's it doesn't matter, short or long, it's the same result. It's like, okay, we just move on and we so it's like, oh, no sympathy for the king, right? Like you guys can just discard me that easily, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the foregone conclusion, like
Say
the
less.
right. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
cool.
and
No
heavy is
sympathy
the
for the king,
crown, though.
right?
I get it. Heavy is the
Yeah.
crown, right? Okay,
Hmm.
I get it. You know, but I became the man in a high castle on the down low.
Yeah. And then it's like I found growth like a mammogram. And so a lot of times when I write
You're
similes,
such a rapper, bro.
I'm saying, well, a lot of time when I write similes, it's like on purpose. That one was not on purpose because the mammogram doesn't rhyme with anything. It's just like I fell
Right.
into that line. And that this verse is very much that. Like I call it writing top down, right? Like where it's like I don't have a bunch of lines I'm trying to weave into this. I'm just like I started from here and wherever this shit goes, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
And so everything in this was like, okay, as I was going, like these lines came to me. And so the mammogram line is like, cool. I just kind of threw that one in there because I thought it was dope.
Right.
And I didn't like go bar off of it because like mammogram, that's a good word to rhyme off of. It rhymes
Yeah.
with a lot of cool things. But I just kind of left that scheme there and kept it going. So, it's like down low, found growth, Dow Jones.
Yeah.
And we all know the Dow Jones industry average. But what I'm saying is like I am the thing that defined that, and the industry that I'm in is average.
Right. Right.
And and I'm also just kind of keeping these schemes going. So I'm like, and I'm savage with Dow tones. That's a hang up. So if that's a hang up, yes, that could be just like Dow tone. You hang up, you hear a Dow tone. But my attitude is also a hang up. You know what I mean? Like the way
Mhm.
I feel as a result of all these experiences is a hang up. And you should fall back. Like you should be wary of that attitude.
Be wary of my hangups.
Yeah. Um, and then acting out of character, never getting called back. So, not just um, not being yourself, but you are also acting out a character. Like you're not just not being yourself, you're trying to be something and it's not resonating, so you're not getting callbacks.
You're also
Um,
acting out,
right,
which causes people to distance and not call you back.
exactly. So I don't know, like
Triple
I'm
entendre. Don't
I'm all
even ask
salty,
me how though.
right?
Don't even ask me. I don't know.
Right. That's exactly what I'm on. Like I like to have that layered meaning in everything. And I love when it comes about in like very simple phrases like this one. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
like you can listen to this rhyme 40 times and be like, oh shit, I didn't peep that before.
No, that's true because I have heard this 40 times at least. And yeah, like that explanation is different than my own interpretation of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is dope because like a lot of the stuff that we grew up on, we're still discovering things about those recordings. We're still catching lines and bars and references. And those recordings are 20, 25 years old that
Yeah.
when we have all this reverence.
And that's
Always
always been my goal. Like I've always wanted to rhyme in a way where it just like continues to give you more meaning. Like as your
saying,
context changes, you may catch something that I said, 20 years ago or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and then this one, I don't know, I just love this bar because it's so succinctly dope. I'm all that, that's all, you know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? It's like I'm all that,
Sometimes you
that's
gotta
all.
like sometimes like now this actually is a great highlight to me because I think this is a slick trick that some MCs do that I do myself where
Mhm.
like typically what we're saying is a lot more layered and a lot more complex and a lot of times a lot more
Mhm.
syllable, right? So uh when you lay back on a line and make it like kind of simple and slick, it pops out.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
think I always like that.
And then from the technical perspective, I have now reversed the rhyme scheme. So it was all callbacks,
Mm.
fallback, you know what I mean? All those other
Oh wow.
and
Occupation crazy rhyme. I didn't catch that.
yeah, so all that, that's all. And now everything rhymes with the reverse of that. So again, it's cool because it's super simple, but it also kind
That's
of like
subtle.
unlocks something. Yeah.
That was sneaky. That was a sneaky combo right there. I like
And
that.
then yeah, and then the way this hits, the next bar is like, I have no problem with impossible. That's solved. Like it's
But
just dope.
again, going back to my point earlier, like that's all is another one that's like a lot of what you would try to rhyme with that is so straightforward. So like
Mhm,
find something where like it feels it feels straightforward. Like yo, I have no problem with impossible. That's solved. So
mhm,
like that's all and that's solved feels pretty straightforward. but all and solved is not an
They
immediate.
technically don't rhyme.
Yeah, but you know how, I forget what the term is when it's not an exact, but it rhymes, and it's not an exact, but phonographically, or whatever the case may be, whatever the word is. So I always like that, because it's like, yo, I have no problem with impossible. That's all. I figured that out already. That's all. We don't need to worry
That's not
about
a problem.
it. That's not a problem anymore. That's one of my favorite lines in this.
And then, I mean, you can't have rap during the pandemic and not have some sort of reference to it. But even
This
that,
also is another one of my favorite bars, and I have no real reason to love it, because I wasn't the biggest Dipset fan, but something about yo, my immunity is diplomatic. Mask off, my immunity is diplomatic is such a hard bar.
Yeah, and so it's the reference to Dipset, but it's also the reference to actual diplomatic immunity, because I'm referencing being this influential person, and it's always been the thing. You see a person with diplomatic plates, and you're like, yo, that person is untouchable. You know what I mean? And so by that same token, it's yeah, my mask is off, and the mask off can mean a variety of things as well. I'm no longer playing this character that was Icon the Mike King. I am now who I am, which is Mike King. And yes, absolutely, Philip K. Dick references. So there's comments starting to pop in. Shout out to Annie and Dan and everything. Yeah, lots of Philip K. Dick references in my raps, but mask off can mean a variety of things. And then again, the immunity, which is just playing in reference to, COVID and all that other stuff. And then at that point, I'm just like, cool, let me give a shout out to my awesome children. And, my kids are magic and I'm winning because it's just a habit. That's one of those phrases that you hear from a lot of successful people. Winning isn't necessarily luck. It's just a series of habits that you develop so you can systematically accomplish things. And then I just kind of delve back into rap things where I'm like, get the ratchet of your chopper or worse. And I like that one because it kind of speaks to
vague criminology.
Yeah, it speaks to vague criminology, and then it also speaks to this idea of how words slang kind of evolves, because people say ratchet when it's oh, that girl is ghetto or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But early 2000s we were saying ratchet for gun, right? Get your ratchet out, that type of thing. And so I'm just kind of rattling out yeah, okay, get your ratchet or your chopper or worse, whatever you got for your imaginary guns. And I'm like,
what you got to do, get all of the arsenal.
Right. And I'm like, but I'm so exclusive, you can't get me anyway, because I'm chilling in the Hamptons taking choppers to work. You can't find me with your imaginary guns. I'm a popular jerk because and
this coupling line is like a chef's kiss,
white sneakers in the rain rich. That is, what I mean? That's like a hood dream, that you can wear your brand new white sneakers in the rain and not give a shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It kind of goes back to the story of Ghostface on Apollo Kids, the whole bright yellow Air Max and that whole thing.
Bright fat yellow Air Max.
Yeah, and then he steps in the puddle.
Son, $20 off, no tax.
Yeah, that's not white sneakers in the rain.
Wasn't looking, stepped in the puddle.
Yeah, he's angry. First thought is, you know what I mean?
And some other things happen. We won't touch on.
Right. We don't condone it.
But yeah, same spirit though.
Yeah.
I switched up the bright fat yellow Air Maxes and immediately walked out into moisture with them.
Right. You ruined your brand new sneakers that you got on sale with no tax. And living in New York, sales tax is so high. So you go to Jersey or even you go to Philly or whatever, where sales tax is much lower. But the idea that you found this not only on sale, but with no tax, dream merchant, literal dream merchant.
Dreams still come true.
But for me, I'm like, hey, I got white sneakers. I got them wet in the rain. Who cares?
I will
And
buy a new one.
just playing off the imagery of rain still. So, I say rainmaker that'll beat you even with the same pitch. And this is a reference, to like some business shit, right? Like a rainmaker is someone who's really good at sales. And so what I'm saying here is like, you and I can have the same presentation and I will beat you because I'm just so much better at what I do.
See, that's another line that I took different because you explained the rainmaker term to me in the studio when you said I'll beat you even with the same pitch. In my brain, it was to say that your pitch is just like, even if I use the same exact pitch in each instance and you switch yours, I will still be superior. I will still come out ahead. I'll still beat you with that pitch.
Yeah,
It's
I
just that
mean,
good of a pitch.
I wasn't thinking
going
that, but that could apply too. You know what I mean? Like I can keep doing my standard thing. You can change it up as many times as you want, and I'll still beat you. Because that is true.
Sort of like like that's again like feeding back into it, like those sorts of interprets that the ability for it to open-endedly be interpreted multiple ways. Like
Right.
choose your adventure.
Right.
Because
And
you
then
still won't be wrong.
right. Like it can mean that too. I'm so famous.
Famous.
I just like that as a statement where it's just like, yo, I'm so famous. You can't do anything about this. And in fact, I don't have to say anything. I'm that famous.
So famous, I don't even have to say anything about it.
Yeah. And so this next section, all the way from, this whole segment, this is kind of like a cannabis bar because he used to do those like long explanations of his rhyme, or in his rhyme rather. So I'm like, this is basic versus advanced placement, summa cum laude shit with dissertations and an MVP with several funding raises. And again, it's very like, education, business type stuff because, basic versus advanced placement, like you're in school, high school particularly, where you're in advanced classes. Okay, you're in these basic classes. And then it's like summa cum laude shit, which is like graduating with the highest honors. Right. And then not only that, you go to the next
level of rhyming then.
You go to the next level and you're getting your PhD or whatever, and you're creating a dissertation around that, which you then defend and all that. And there's a lot of people whose dissertations in school become a product that they create and then raise money to fund. So as an example, Google was that, right? Like the founders of Google, that was like their project so that they could become like doctors in computer science. And then it's one of the biggest companies in the world, right? So MVP stands for minimal viable product. And then, typically it's seen as successful if you're able to raise money to fund your product. So I'm saying like, I went from, just being the smart kid in classes to, creating something so crazy that people want to invest in, that type of shit. But then I kind of bring it back to, just more braggadocious shit. I'm like, in other words, you peons suck. Me and my joint like Elon Musk meets Eon Flux, which one just sounds super cool. And my wife, she asked me, she's like, what do you mean by that? Because she wants to know, like, what if I'm calling her Eon Flux, like, what does that mean?
Need the full context. Who's Eon?
Yeah. Eon Flux, for anyone that
is ill.
Eon Flux is the shit. And what I said to her, I was like, I'm basically saying you're just a super badass bitch. I mean, not bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I don't mean it like that.
The super badass assassin.
Yeah, because
tech
wizard was so ill. So if anyone watching this has never seen Eon Flux, it was a cartoon that originally came on this thing called Liquid Television on MTV. And then it got like a full spin-off show for like, I think somewhere like 3 seasons, maybe 5 seasons. And it was done by this guy named Peter Chung. He also did one of the episodes of Animatrix, which was, the anime Matrix films. And it was a crazy show because every episode she would like do crazy things, and then she would also die. And like she would infiltrate you know, a place and like steal something, and then it was just like this really interesting ambiguous show, right? Once it became more longer form, you know, you got to see more of a story arc with the character, but she was just really dope. Like she, I can't really describe it. Like it's just so cool to see this
She
really
was
dope
like,
woman do cool things.
yeah, like she was like this like highly trained, highly skilled, fluid in espionage,
Yeah,
had all sorts of like, it's sort of, she was sort of like future, like future sort of steampunky,
more
sort of
cyberpunky.
anime
Yeah,
James Bond, but a woman.
right. And it was just, especially at that time, it was just such an ill character. And so that's what I was saying. My wife is ill like that. You know what I mean? And Elon Musk, we all know who he is and what he does. Um,
Peon suck, Elon Musk, Eon Flux. Yeah.
um, I seen your analytics. What are those? You know, what are those being the meme where we're talking about people's sneakers? Like you see somebody with some bootleg sneakers and you're just like, what are those? And, you know, in this case, I'm like, okay, I've seen the numbers that you're doing in your analytics. I don't recognize these
What are
numbers.
you? What is that?
They're so low. And then the next bar is like you hit a couple goals, but you ain't couple goals. There's obviously a bunch of, you know, meanings here. So keeping with analytics, you set up goals to like indicate whether or not users have done things that you want them to do across the site. So you hit a couple goals, but you ain't couple goals, going back to the fact that me and my wife are Elon Musk and Eon Flux. And then also just like generally in life, you are hitting a couple goals, but still you are not at the level that we're at. And then going back to what you were saying about, you know, kind of incorporating some of the childhood songs and things like that and stuff. So I'm like, I need a challenge like jumping rope. I remember my cousin, she used to uh, jump double dutch all the time. And they'd be like, challenge, 1, 2, 3. So like, you know, that's
Oh
just a reference to
man,
that.
that's that one right there, man. That's memories.
Yeah, that's like on the block playing king ball, all that other stuff.
King Ball. Man, you can't see me in King Ball. I'm just telling you.
It's part of my
Fortunately,
name. You don't want that smoke.
I
Don't think you match wits because you want the smoke. So match wits, want the smoke. Simple. And if you do want the smoke, I would recommend that you try your hand in a frying pan. So that's just a visual of like, imagine if you put your hand in a frying pan, like it'd be
right.
emitting crazy smoke.
But then that's like the ill thing about all of these rhymes too. Just the craft of rhyming in general is the connective tissue is some of the illest part.
Yeah.
Some of the illest aspects of it. You know, we sort of tend toward the big punchline or something like that, or like maybe the voice or the delivery, you know, someone's
Well,
hype and
yeah.
delivery,
Mhm.
right? But like that connective tissue has so much in it where like you can just see, like, you know, in movies when there's like the criminal and they have the board and there's like all the strings and yarn like
Mhm.
drawing different people in circles. That's what that connective tissue is like. And if you start paying attention, you start to see, you're like, oh, okay, match wits, want to smoke, try your hand in a frying pan, firebrand, like it's all
Mhm.
connecting and looping back through itself and
Yeah,
referring to itself. It's all like this super ill referential thing.
exactly.
Love that.
And to that point, it's always been important to me, and even more so now as I've gotten older, to not waste words. Like this verse is 48 bars. I
Yeah.
don't feel like I wasted a single word. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like everything has some level of layered meaning. And you know, right now I'm just kind of like blowing through these explanations. But as I was going through, I was like, oh, this could mean this. And if you think about it this way, like it's all by design, right? Like I didn't have match wits, want the smoke, frying pan, firebrand all together accidentally. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. A
It's a
lot of my
giant.
you'd be surprised how many of mine are accidental.
Mhm.
But then, like, if it happens sort of constantly by accident, is it really an accident, or is
I
it
mean,
just
I
like,
think on some level it's also subconscious. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you,
like, is it an accident, or is it your skill set sort of like seeping through
right,
naturally?
right. And for me, like even when I freestyle, I'm always trying to connect the lines in some way where, and it isn't always like clever, but there has to be some sort of connection between, bar one, bar three, and so on. Like
Yeah.
there has to be some sort of like visual connection in what you're saying. And the next few bars are really just kind of leaning back into this idea that I'm like this, you know, this character who's like quite successful and so on. And I'm like, yeah, Black Bruce Wayne or a real life Iron Man, because Batman and Iron Man are basically the same guy
Yeah, I
in
never
different
thought about that, but
universes.
yeah. But yeah, it's
um,
sort of like this public facing person doesn't tell the entire story.
right, right. And so Black Bruce Wayne or a real life Iron Man, just to keep it 3,000, which is, obviously the reference, we say everything, you keep it 100, which is turning to keep it at 1,000. Some people say keep it 3,000, yada, yada, yada. But it's also a reference to what he says, what Iron Man says in Endgame, where he's talking to his daughter. He's like, I love you 3,000. So again, it all just connects back.
That's news to me. That
Yeah.
one's, yeah, all right.
Pay the King's Ransom. I'm not freestyling, so that's where the title of the song comes from, of course. But I'm known for freestyling, and this is me saying like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, we don't come to my shows looking for that blindfold freestyle no more. Like, pay the King's Ransom.
Pay the
I'm
king.
not freestyling anything. And then it just goes back to me being that popular jerk a bit
Our
more.
favorite line right here.
Picture me smiling.
Smiling.
Giving the bad news that y'all niggas need talent. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm imagining me like sitting there on some Simon Cowell shit. You know what I mean? I'm just like, you niggas need talent.
It's gonna be a no for me. It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Word. I'm gonna have your series canceled. Thinking you Kevin Samuels,
This
really
is
you
low
Tevin
key
Campbell.
this is low key like a pretty cold bar. Like, I'm gonna have your series canceled.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like I can do that. I can have your
yeah,
series canceled.
it's like a more interesting way. Like we talking about in my verse, that line. It's like, okay, this is just a more interesting way to say that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have your series canceled, fam. You need to relax.
All right, somebody said he said, "What? Why? Name your price. I want to see that shit again." Oh, freestyling. I mean, here's the thing. I love doing the blindfold freestyle thing, because it's fun and it gets people really excited. It's something that most people hadn't seen before unless they saw me, but it it makes people really kind of anchor on that and not really focus on the things that I put so much care into, which is the songs, right? Um, and so it's difficult for me when like I would do these songs where I'm like pouring my heart out and like telling you what I'm dealing with in life, and then people come up to me like, yo, yeah, you were dope. The best part was the blindfold freestyle. Oh, the shit that takes no
Yo,
effort.
yo, when you pointed out that guy's cigarettes.
And so, I also, as a marketer, what I've realized is that music is actually very similar to user experience. Like it doesn't matter how hard it is for me to do or how much effort I put into it. It's all about like your experience of it. And so to that end, I mean, I'm not saying I'll never do the blindfold freestyle thing again. I'll do it when it feels like, this is the moment to bring out this being one of many things I can do. But it's not going to be something I default to anymore because I want the relationship that I have with my fans, or at least people who listen to my music. I don't want to call them fans. Um, to be one that's more related to, you know, the things I'm actually trying to say, like the music that I'm trying to um, have like represent me and connect with people over. So yeah, it probably won't be like an everyday thing when I go on tour again. But yeah, back to this line. So thinking you Kevin Samuels, really you Tevin Campbell. Kevin Samuels is a toxic black man who who frankly, you know, he does things that I completely don't agree with. He's like a very misogynistic person. And on his he has like an online show on YouTube or whatever, or Instagram, I don't know. And he'll have women come on to the show, and you know, they'll be talking about like what they want, how they want high value men, and he'll be like, yeah, but you're like, rate yourself on a 1 to 10 scale, and he's like, yeah, like a woman will say like, oh, I'm a 10 or I'm a 9 or whatever, and then he'll be like, nah, you're a 4 and all this other stuff. He's a terrible person, but there's a lot of people that are watching this stuff and thinking it's like the gospel. You know what I mean? Like this
Right.
is how you need to live your life. Like
He
these
can tap
feminists are
into this
ruining things.
market, you know,
Yeah.
for like this market of guys who feel that reciprocal voice
Mm-hmm.
is underrepresented. That voice that's like, oh, you know, and a lot of some guys, I won't say a lot because I actually hate when it's cast as like most of us.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some guys who, you know, they feel like women get to say and feel and do whatever they want to say and feel and do, and men have to just eat that. So here's a guy who's like, no, I'm gonna be this brutally honest person who does that to them. And yeah, like I mean he hit a crazy jug on a market that wasn't being represented. So like there's that, but it's a
It didn't
pretty
need to be
shitty,
represented.
it's a pretty shitty market.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of a
Um,
crappy, you know, little pocket.
yeah. And so what I'm saying here is like, you ain't that guy. You're Tevin Campbell. Tevin Campbell being, you know, considered one of the archetypes for being like a soft person who's kind of like ineffectual. Um,
Not
I don't know. I love
not
Tevin
a
Campbell's
toxic,
music. Yeah,
misogynist, chauvinist man.
yeah.
You're a you're a
You're soft.
you're a baby faced kid with a great singing voice who makes really nice love songs that we
Right.
that your mom can listen to.
And it's just wonderful that those names rhyme so well. So I kind of fell into that one. Um,
They used to say I looked like Tevin Campbell when I was young.
really, I
Yeah.
respect that. So at this point, I'm just going back to, you know, telling you who I am, the flyest dark skinned hired marksman in a whole new world without touching a flying carpet. So obvious allusion to Aladdin, but I am in a whole new world as compared to where I was before, where I was just rapping. And so I'm in this business world, you know, and I've never had to touch some sort of fake thing to make that happen. And then just going back to this
I
idea
didn't know
that,
what that said before seeing this. I didn't know
really,
that that's what you were saying right there. Science, dark, and lion heart shit.
yeah, and that kind of just goes back to, you know, I've classified the way that I rap as far as like the references that I make as like science fiction rap. You know how people used to always call rappers that were like complex, like space rappers and things like that. I still have some level of
It
that in
don't
what I
even make
do.
no sense.
Yeah, except I always make sense.
Mhm.
Um, so science darts and Lionheart shit. You know what I mean? Like it's you can't fuck with it. And
I'm back
back
in. I'm
in the
back
Mile High
in.
Club.
I have
The,
my card carrying membership. I haven't been active in a while, but I'm back in the Mile High Club.
yeah, and it's such a flex because I'm just talking about, you know, I
Plot
live
twist: the
really
Mile
high up
High is my apartment.
there.
Let's
Word.
go.
Try and start shit that's my
LLC.
department, but you don't really do shit like blowing a giant cartridge. Pause. Nintendo reference.
No, we don't need to pause blowing a giant cartridge. It's a cartridge. It's not even phallic.
No. I'm not saying pause like that. I'm saying I pause
Oh, you
before I say
paused. All
Nintendo
right.
reference. Yeah,
Well, we
I'm
are
too
there's
old to be
rap.
playing
We are
pause.
talking about a rap verse. I was like, all right, pause. We
Nah,
paused
and
the cartridge now.
now, and the reason why I'm like so explicit here is because blowing a giant cartridge, like I'm saying, you won't really do shit like blowing a giant cartridge, which could be me saying you won't do shit like shooting a gun, right? But I'm clarifying that I mean like no, Nintendo reference. This is impressive. Stay ready for the line drop. This isn't Tetris. So just keeping that
And
Nintendo gaming reference going.
if you don't know, like blowing a Nintendo cartridge actually is proven to not be effective. Like
Right.
that's not what made the
It
cartridge
doesn't really
work.
do shit.
It actually it actually could cause damage to your cartridge for real.
Right.
And
Because
a lot of
you're
people don't know
blowing moisture into a technical device.
that.
Like, why did we ever do
So
that?
there's that layer too.
Yeah, I remember I had like a god brother and sister. They were the first people to do that. And I remember I was like 8 or 9. I'm like, there's no way this works. Like, why are you doing this? um, this isn't Tetris, and I'm like living legend as if it is in question. Like, I don't even have to say that I'm a living legend. We know this.
Oh wait, but so Nintendo references is present. Stay ready for the line drop. This isn't Tetris.
Right.
Stay
So
prepared for that punchline. It's incoming. But it's
yeah,
not a game.
right. Indeed. And at the same time, in Tetris, there will be situations where you're building your whatever and you're hoping that a line drops. But if you keep trying to wait for that line drop and then you don't get it, that's gonna fuck up your whole game. Like you gotta use the shapes that you're actually getting first. You can't just like be waiting for that line drop.
Mm.
Um,
Living legend.
as if it isn't question. It isn't question. My time is of a different essence. I mean, I think it's self-explanatory, but at this point, I'm getting really intricate with it and saying these really flexing statements where I'm just like, yo, we are not on the same time. Like, I'm on a different level here. Spitting weapon, as if it isn't. Oh, spitting weapon. I'm first when I'm getting seconds. And again, that's another one of those where it's a simple phrase, but it's just so loaded. Like I'm first when I'm getting seconds. Like I'm gonna get it before you get it. You know what I mean? Royal bloodline, don't act like it isn't destined. I'm Mike King. That's what I'm here to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's get it.
And got the gravitas of a Bobby Axelrod. So there's a show called Billions, which I love. And I can't really tell you what it's about, but it's awesome. And I mean, what it's really about is like the fact that, we kind of draw these lines as to like who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. And people that are considered the good guy are often doing bad things and they may be worse than the good guy. And people that are the bad guys are often, doing good things. And you get all this interplay. There's a lot of like game theory in the show and all this. And it's very difficult to know who to root for. But Bobby Axelrod, he's this like billionaire who's just like, yo, we're doing this shit that I want to do. I don't give a fuck what the law says. I don't give a fuck, what anybody says. Like, we're gonna make these things happen. And so that comes with a certain level of gravitas. And what I'm saying here is that I also have that certain level of gravitas. You can catch the wrath of God if you try to sabotage. Your path is half mirage. You ain't going far. The king is something I took to, like Noah's Ark. So,
play on the word too.
Yeah, of course. And you could say took
Course.
to, or I mean, there's a lot of ways you can freak that one. But bottom line is that I took it. Nobody gave this to me. You know what I mean? And if you try to fuck with it, because you're not going where I'm going, and if you try to fuck with it, there will be serious repercussions. And that's where it ends. I start from like, hey, what is this position that I'm in? oh, this position that I'm in, and I'm gonna defend this position no matter what.
Yeah.
And there you go.
You did.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's the exegesis of these bars. So for anybody that's listening, all right, there's a question. Then why the games always work after blowing? That's not true. That's not
Yeah,
true.
confirmation bias.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Mhm.
Let me stop sharing this. So one, again, I really appreciate you and all your contribution. And your contribution isn't just the verse. The contribution is like, you were in the room for all of this. And I'm not just saying the studio, like we hung
Yeah.
out 24/7
Yeah.
for like all those days. Well,
And it
24
was dope
5.
because it was still warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
we did that, or I did that icon drawing, and then we did the video and
Oh
all
yeah,
that. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
fun. We had such a good time. Like that first session, it was just the perfect reintroduction into rhyming.
And
It
it had
helped
been
me.
years since we really got to do that.
Yeah. Like you and I kept in touch, but it would be like randomly, we'd have a phone call like every 6 months. And I've really appreciated like reconnecting with you throughout this process.
Man, me
Um,
too, yo. And it's
and
and it's and it's kept up like since
yeah,
that
right.
connection.
Like
It's
you
like,
you were
oh,
like, yo, I want to drop my record. I was like, cool. What we gotta do to make that happen? You know what I mean? I'm in the
and
studio
yeah,
till 5 in the morning with you.
you helped it. You helped me. Your contribution to that made it possible for real.
Yeah. So
Because it was like it was a thing that like it that freed me up to work on the songs longer, which allowed
mhm,
me to like really turn around some really dope stuff at the 11th hour. So like
yeah,
King's English and uh um Contessa and
bangers.
Loretta. I was able to work on Loretta all through the night. King's English, I laid the song down. I had it written, but I laid it down that morning. I pulled an all nighter. So I laid it down that morning. And Contessa, I laid during the session, the
Well,
mixing session.
let anyone who's watching this know about your record because that's out too.
So my record, should I just drop it in the chat? How do I drop it in the chat? We'll figure that out. But
Yeah.
I have an EP. It dropped on February 4th, which is my birthday. It's called Live Nigga Prophecy. And it's produced by me. Um, and it's a special record to me because I've been away from the scene actively. Like I haven't been putting out a lot of records all this time for a lot of logistic reasons and things of that nature, right? Boring shit. But um, I've been working on music and I've been trying to perfect what I want you to experience when you hear my music. So this was a good example. This was the first thing that I got to push out the door that reflected my newer sonic directions and where, even if it's subtle to some people, there are things in there and approaches in there that speak to where I'm going, not where I've been and where I've been standing. And that was extremely important to me. So I think and also like a big hinging point, a big thing with this record was, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of my music was so serious and it was, like these depressive manifestos. Like you would listen to this if you know, going through a breakup, or like you're having a bad mental health day. You might listen to my first album, right? But I
Yeah, I
wanted
put
to
the link on the bottom of the screen for anybody that wants to hear the record.
yes, please. The record is, Name Your Price. It'll be on streaming soon as also. So check it out. It's real dope. It won't take up a lot of your time, but I think if you listen to it, you'll want to play it again and again. So it might actually take up a lot of your time because I feel like it's really highly replayable.
Right. So
Yeah.
I want to get us to wrap this up pretty soon because we've been on here for mad long. But I want to talk a little bit about Which way? Yeah. I want to talk about the cover, and then I want to talk about what you and I are gonna do next. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
cover.
we
Let's go.
yeah. I mean, like, we were like, yo, let's do a shot that looks like the I mean, if
You
you're a hip hop fan, you know what we're doing right there,
know what
right?
this looks like. If you're
And so I just want to
pull it
share it
down.
to the
I'll pull
screen.
it off the shelf. Make sure you can't see my midriff. Where we at? Boom. There we go. For those that don't know,
Exactly.
41st,
Purple tape.
the purple
Exactly.
tape cover.
So we took that shot, and then had my guy Nick uh, basically married my branding with what that looks like. And this is obviously by design that we did this, because the next thing that Haas and I, or excuse me, Anwar HighSign,
You can call me.
and
I mean, people know. Just don't call me Haslo. It's cool. Haas is my actual name. My middle name is Hassan.
That I know. I'm just trying to be consistent. You know what I mean? People still call me Icon. I'm cool with that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No, so the next thing that he and I are going to work on together, because this just sounds so good, right? We're going to work on an album called 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizards, and it's going to be basically.
You might have to change that name. I think somebody got to it before us.
Oh no, you didn't. No,
For real, I think somebody got hold of it.
Let me look it up.
Why you?
Anyway, where'd he go? He disappeared. Yeah, so we're working on an album called that, and it's basically. Oh, he's back.
That was an input error. I was trying to hit the tab and I hit the refresh.
Yeah, so we're working on an album, and it's basically, if we made that album, but our style now, to some degree. And so super excited about it, and can't wait to work on it. Can't wait to, disappear from our day-to-day lives for a couple weeks and just knock it out. So yeah,
wait,
it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be
we plan on doing it the same way. Well, we actually plan on taking it up a notch. We'll talk about it later, but
yeah,
it's gonna be dope, man. I think me and you have known each other for so long, so like to finally do it at this point, when I think it's safe to say that like we have our rhyme foundations, but we've discovered this different direction and this different level that we're both striving for. We're striving for perfection. Like it's dope I feel like it's maybe more apt that we are coming together to do it at this point in our lives than previously. I think it'll be a more meaningful record now than it would have been 10 or 20 years ago, or however long we've known each other now.
I know, right? It's been mad long, right? I remember when I met you, because I was in this weird space where I was like, I'm too old to make new friends, like new real friends.
Then it's crazy because like you be in your 20s feeling that way, like
like I couldn't have been older than like 27 or something when I met you, right? Maybe not even then. Like maybe I was like 25, and I was just like, yeah, it's too late to make real friends.
It's too late. It's a wrap.
Here we are.
Here we are.
All right, so let's wrap this up. King's Ransom streaming everywhere. Listen to it. We got a video dropping very, very soon as well. And just keep tapping in with us. We're gonna drop these albums. There's gonna be 3-packs coming front, left, right, and center. And we're just gonna keep giving y'all that heat.
More and more.
And that's all I got. That's all I got.
I think you got it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. What do y'all think? I think
Cool.
Yes.
So
I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we made this music.
Not any bourbon whatsoever.
Oh shit! I completely forgot. Oh, I mean, I'm about to go to the Brandy Library with my pops. So, the Sixers game.
Close enough. I got the VSOP immediately, so I might have me over there.
You know what? Why don't we just switch back to Instagram Live, and we can just keep a conversation going, and we're gonna get that bourbon out. Oh my God,
With
the
that
Sixers
bourbon
are
on.
getting washed. Wow. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay
And
tuned.
that's what you're gonna end it on.
Yo, it's bad.
You're gonna end
It's
it
the
on.
end of the third quarter, and the score is 102-70.
Oh wow.
I gotta go. All right, y'all.
Right. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for having me. Of course, Mike. It was a blast.
Of course.
And I hope I will see you guys later. And I hope you'll check out the record. Peace.